Hello students, welcome back to your own channel VA NEET Academy. So today's class we will be shifting from the cell organelles we have covered the cell division, mitosis, meiosis, everything. So today we are shifting our class to biomolecules. Okay, so what are biomolecules? Have you ever imagined, we have studied about cell. So what is this cell made up of? These cells are made up of chemicals and these chemicals are called as biomolecules. So biomolecules, basically you can divide it into an inorganic biomolecule and then the organic molecules. So in inorganic you can have a example of water and then minerals, and in organic you have the examples of carbohydrates, proteins, your lipids and enzymes and nucleic acids, everything. Okay, so today's class will be only an introduction, just an introduction of what exactly is biomolecules, so that you all are clear with the concept, and then slowly we'll shift the classes to the detailed video on each biomolecules, that is carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, nucleic acids, etc. Okay, so today's class will be an introduction on biomolecules. Thank you students, keep watching and do subscribe, like and share our classes so that I am motivated to bring you more and more videos for you all. Thank you. Okay students, so let us begin our today's class, introduction to biomolecules. So according to the definition, how will you define a biomolecule as? How will you define? Biomolecules are, what are they? Biomolecules are chemical, okay? They are chemical compounds. They are chemical compounds present. Where is it present? Because we are talking about the living cell, in living organisms, isn't it? They are present in living organisms. So example, you can say carbohydrates, okay, proteins and lipids. So these are the biomolecules. So what are the biomolecules? They are the just chemical compounds. And why do we call it as bio? Because it is present in the living organism. Simple, isn't it? So carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, even the nucleic acids, Na, I am writing it as Na. Na is nucleic acids. Okay, nucleic acid. Clear? So this is the definition of your biomolecules. So let us see what is the importance of biomolecules. Let us see what is it used for, or why are they important. So they are basically important, very much important in the structure. Okay, they are important in the formation of a structure of a living organism. They are important to provide energy to the living organism. They are important for the growth of the living organism, and also they are important for the reproduction of the living organism. So these are the roles which a biomolecule has to play in a living system. Now let us understand, how does a scientist study the biomolecules, or else we can say how do they come to the conclusion that yes, these are the biomolecules, and how do they classify it. Okay, so to study the biomolecules, what do the scientists do is they take the living tissue. Okay, so living tissue can be a leaf if it is a plant, or else liver if it is an animal. Okay, so they take the liver, and this tissue sample is grind, okay, with TCA. TCA is an acid called as trichloroacetic acid. Trichloroacetic acid, TCA. This is a acid. So grind the sample, either liver or leaf, and grind it with acid called as TCA. Okay, so you will get two fractions after grinding. One you name it as acid soluble fraction and the other becomes the acid insoluble fraction. Okay. So you get two fractions. One is because you are grinding it in an acid, so some of the chemicals they are soluble in acid and some becomes insoluble in acid. So the scientists they found that the samples which were acid solubles were sugars, okay, amino acids and nucleotides. So these were the chemicals which were found to be acid solubles and some were acid insoluble. So proteins were acid insoluble, that is they did not dissolve in the presence of TCA. Okay, proteins did not dissolve, polysaccharides did not dissolve. Polysaccharides, proteins, polysaccharides, okay, nucleic acid, Na is nucleic acid and lipids. So these were the one which did not dissolve in the TCA acid, that is trichloroacetic acid, and hence they were called as the acid insoluble fraction. So one of the neat interesting question or else fact is that, okay, acid soluble fraction were called as micromolecules, okay, and acid insoluble fractions were called as macromolecules, right? Now why do we call this as micro and this as macromolecules? Because micromolecules were less than 1000 Daltons in molecular weight. Okay, so this is why it is called micro, and macro is the substance which were more than 1000 Daltons in molecular weight. Okay, so based on this molecular weight they were called as micromolecules as well as macromolecules. Hope it is clear. Okay. So now after all this research has been done, the scientists now decided to do some chemical analysis of the living organism. Okay, so after doing the chemical analysis of the living organism, they could find three major elements. One was major elements, the other was called minor elements, and the last one was named it as trace elements. So after chemical analysis they found that you can classify the elements as major, minor and trace elements. So what are the major elements? Now we will see what are the major elements. Now major elements were carbon, okay, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. Okay, very commonly called as CHON. These were the major element, CHON, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. Okay, so minor elements were calcium, magnesium, okay, calcium, magnesium, potassium and sodium. So these were known as minor elements, calcium, magnesium, potassium and sodium. And finally they could found some very few amounts which was named as trace elements, and trace elements they were iron, copper, zinc, okay, and molybdenum. So these were named as trace elements in a living organism. So all these things you can find it in a living organism, okay, based on their availability They were defined as major, minor and trace elements. Clear, students? So micro elements and macro elements, you know, they were classified based on their molecular weight, isn't it? And elements were trace, major, minor because of their presence in the amount, or else you can say quantity. Okay. So now you have the major and minor elements. So these were the elements which you can see in a living system, living matter. Okay. So apart from this, the non-living matter is also called elements which were present in a non-living organisms, or else you can say which were present in non-living system matter, not a organism. When it is organism, it has to be living. So you can say non-living matter, you have silicon and aluminum. So these were the elements which were present in a non-living matter. Okay. So now based on all these facts, carbon is said to be the backbone of life. Backbone of life. Carbon is called as the backbone of life. Remember, which is the backbone of life? It is the carbon. Okay. So now to finally wind up the class, we will see certain in a flow chart form, what have we learned today. So we have seen that living cell, okay, living cell after chemical analysis, you can define it as a biomolecules, and these biomolecules are nothing but carbohydrates, okay, proteins, lipids and nucleic acids, isn't it? So these are the this is the lesson we have learned today, that living cell is made up of chemical analysis. Living cell has the chemicals which you call it as biomolecules, and these biomolecules are carbohydrates, proteins, lipids and nucleic acid. Okay. So similarly, one experiment was conducted using the living tissues. Okay. So what was the living tissue used? Either leaf or else acid, okay, sorry, leaf or else liver, and this was prone to acid extraction, that is treatment with acid. And what was the acid used? TCA, trichloroacetic acid, and you get two fractions. One was called acid soluble fraction and the other one was acid insoluble fraction. Okay. Fraction, acid soluble fraction and acid insoluble fraction. So what was seen in your acid soluble? The micromolecules like sugar, amino acids and nucleotides, which were less than 1000 Daltons, and hence it is called micromolecules, isn't it? Okay. And acid soluble fraction, what did you find in acid soluble fraction? You had proteins, DNA, RNA, that is nucleic acids, polysaccharides, okay, lipids. So these were seen in acid soluble insoluble fraction, and these were more than 1000 Daltons in the molecular weight, and hence it was called as a macromolecules, isn't it? So macro because more than 1000 Daltons, micro because less than 1000 Daltons in molecular weight. Okay. So hope the class is clear, students. So tomorrow we will go one by one with each of the biomolecules. So hopefully tomorrow we will see about carbohydrates. Thank you, students. Do subscribe, like and share our channel so that I give you more and more videos for you to make it more clear. Thank you, students.